Hey guys, this is Andy, the art director at Innovative Labeling Solutions. I wanted to take a minute today to go over how to set up a white layer in your file. Before we get to that, I want to explain why you would want a white layer in your file in the first place. There's two situations where you would want to build a white layer. The first situation is if you're printing on a clear substrate. Anything backed in white on a clear substrate is not going to be transparent. Anything that does not have white behind it is going to be transparent. So that's the first situation that you would want to create a white layer for. The second situation is if you're printing on a metallic substrate. Anything backed in white on a metallic substrate is not going to be reflective. You're not going to see that material showing through the ink. Any area that's not backed in white is going to be metallic. It's going to have that reflective look to it. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to look at a simple label going through the second process, printing on a metallic substrate. So this is just a basic 4x6 label. It's got our ILS logo on it. Over here, I've got two layers set up. I've got my die line at the top there, and I've got my art layer below that. I'm going to set up a third layer above the artwork, and I'm going to call that white. And I'll get to why we're setting it up above the art layer in just a minute. When it actually prints, that white is going to be under the artwork. But for the purposes of setting up a file, we'll put that on top of the artwork. And you'll see why I do that in just a minute. So we've got our new layer named white. Let's say in this example that the red ILS we want to be reflective. The yellow background we do not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything here, all the artwork on the art layer. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to turn off the art layer, click on the white layer, and then I'm going to do an edit, paste in front. So what that does is it lines up the artwork in exactly the same position it was on the art layer, except now we're working on the white layer. So again, anything that you don't want to be reflective, in this case the yellow, you would want that to be backed in white. So I'm going to create a new swatch. I'm going to go to my swatches, new swatch, and I'm going to call that swatch white X1. Now what's the significance of that name? Nothing really. It's just the swatch that we use at ILS to represent white. We're also going to give it some color. Obviously on press it's not going to have any color. It's going to be solid white. But for the purpose of viewing it in your file, just go ahead and give it some color. It's all going to be overridden once it goes through the press anyway. So you don't have to worry about what colors you give it. I'll just give it 50% cyan. And then we also want to make sure that it's a spot color and not a process color. So I'll click OK here. And you can see that it's filled this entire area, the background, with white. So that area is not going to be reflective. The red ILS, we do want that to be reflective. So we need white X1 in that area, except we need it set to 0%. So as you can see now, if I turn the art layer back on, the ILS is going to be reflective because there's no white printing in that area. Now, with the white layer on, we can't see our artwork. It's underneath there. So we need a way to be able to see what we're doing and not have the white layer knock out any of the artwork that's below it. So if you go to your layer and click on the circle to the right of your layer, that will select the entire layer. And then we can go to our transparency palette, go to the drop down, click on darken, and now everything that's under that white layer is going to print as it normally would. So if we go to our separations, this is what the white looks like. And that's what the art looks like without the white. So again, we're setting that up on top, number one, so that we can view it easier. We can see our artwork and our white layer at the same time. And number two, it allows us to keep all of our elements in one place above the art layer and not have a big mess in the art layer. It's very easy to get to a point where you have some items that are end up overprinting your white or knocking them out rather. It just keeps it clean. You keep it all in one layer up above your art and set that to darken, and that's the cleanest and easiest way to do it. So that's how you would set up a white layer on a metallic substrate. If you wanted to do the opposite, if you wanted the yellow to be metallic and the red to not be metallic, you would just do the opposite. You would grab this, the ILS, you would set that to 100% white, and you would set your background to 0% white. So now the ILS is backed in white, will not be metallic, and the background will be metallic. Now there's one little trick here that you want to remember when you're setting up your white layer. Let's say that we don't have this yellow background. We just have a red ILS. Let's start from scratch on our white layer here. Okay, so if you want to back this ILS in white, I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it in front again on the white layer and set that to white X1 again. So there's a little thing you have to watch out for. Even though our presses have very high tolerance, very little registration issues, one thing we like to do is we want to offset our white anytime that white could peek out from under another color. It's very minute, and it's only an occasional thing that happens. Again, we hold very tight tolerances on our indigo presses. But in this situation, just to be on the safe side, we like to pull our white back about 0.03 of an inch, just to keep it from peeking out from under that color. If the yellow was still out here, we wouldn't have to worry about it as much because it's going to be hidden behind another color. In this case, we have nothing back there, and we want to pull the white in just a bit. So I'm going to go to my white layer again. I'm going to select the ILS, and I'm going to offset my path. I'm going to go Object, Path, Offset Path, and I've already got it in here. We're going to do minus 0.03 of an inch. So that creates a new path inside the old one. I'll hide that just for a moment. Get rid of the old path and bring back the new path. So if I turn my art layer back on, you can see what I just did there. If you look really closely, you can see that the white is now pulled back from the art layer 0.03 of an inch. So if there's any minor movement between the inks on the press, that little offset is going to keep that from peeking out from under the art. So really that's about it. It's pretty straightforward. Once you see how to do it, hopefully it's a little bit easier to understand. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to call your client manager, and we'll do our best to get you the information you need. Thanks for listening, and I hope this was helpful.